always good to be back. Uh, Dr. Sean asked me today to come in and just do the stream for him, but he said that he will be back tomorrow to continue on the teachings of Psalm 37. But today, since I'm here, we're going to focus on a different chapter in one verse today, and that is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And I'm going to be reading it in the Passion's translation because, I read it and it felt like when I read it, it really went well with what I was trying to piece here. And then once we read it, we're going to break it down and I'm going to talk about it throughout the verse. And this is what it says in the Passion's translation. Stop imitating the ideals and opinions of the culture around you, but be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit through a total reformation of how you think. This will empower you to discern God's will as you live a beautiful life, satisfying and perfect in His eyes. Okay? that it so amazing. Just what you can see here. Just right there, it already goes through and how timely the verse is. Just how timely it is right now, that we need to be thinking about and stuff that we need to be changing in our minds and in the church nowadays. And so we're going to break this down. I'm going to start off with this first part here where it says this. Stop imitating the ideals and the opinions of the culture around you. Okay? How timely is that right now? When you look around at the church, they have been, changing stuff in the church. We've been changing our ideals. We've been changing our opinions, whether, some churches choose to lean to the right, some churches choose to lean to the left, in their decisions. They choose to, argue and bicker. Some will change, all of these things about the Bible. They'll do stuff like that. But we as a church, we have become complacent with the world. Today the church has just become complacent with it. We've started to mix the world and the church together when it should be separate. It should be the church and the world, not together. There should be a fine line that separates us. We've started to worry more about the crowd than actually preaching the word. So we do the little fun things. We do the smoke and the lights. We do all of this, which I'm not saying that's bad, but when we start to prioritize that over the word, over the truth that the people need to hear, you've just conformed with the world. We've made worship into a concert instead of a time to connect and step into the Lord's presence. We have made it into a time of just, oh, this is fun. Look at the people singing. Look at the people dancing. That's what we've turned it into. We've become complacent with the world, as in, we've started to say drinking is okay, cussing, you can do whatever. There's been certain people have changed it into the sloppy grace and sloppy mercy. Where you could just get saved once and then His mercy will cover everything else you do. You can live however you want to live as long as you just keep asking for His forgiveness. You see, we've become in this way. We've changed ourselves. We've changed our look of the church to appease the sinful nature of man. We've completely changed the church to make us feel better, which is the opposite of what we should do. We should be separating the church from the world. There should be a clear, fine line of where we say no. The world may be doing it, but we will not cross this line. We need to separate them again. Just look how timely that is. And as we look, we need, why have we gotten ourselves into this way of complacency. We've gotten ourselves there because we don't have the right mentality. We don't have the right mindset. We've just become, okay, it's okay if it's, we can mix a little bit of this in there. We can take a little bit of this and put it in there. We can take a little bit of this and put it in there. But that's not how it works. The Bible is the fine line that separates us from the world. And as the church goes, the world goes. So right now, because our nation is struggling so much, the church went wrong somewhere. We messed up. We didn't do enough. That's why we're in the situation we're in. That's why we need to watch what we do, and we need to separate ourselves and be different. Here the second part says this. But be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit through the total reformation of how you think. Okay. See, this is where we get into the guarding our mind part. We need to not be changed by the outside world. We need to stay focused. We need to be changed by the Holy Spirit, as it said right there. But we need to be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit. We can't be changed by the outside world. We need to be changed on what's inside us. And what's inside us is the Holy Spirit. He can change everything. When we allow the Holy Spirit to change our outlooks, our ideals, our opinions, when we allow Him to change those instead of the world, He will change us for the good. And He gets us into a closer relationship with God. When we follow the Holy Spirit, when we let Him guide us to where we need to be, when we let Him change our ideals, when we let Him change our plans, He only has what is good in mind. There's nothing to hurt us or to harm us when we follow the Holy Spirit. When we follow Him, when we put everything into Him, He will change our mindset and give us that closer relationship. And when we let the Spirit guide us, He will totally reform our thoughts, our processes, and then it will change our process to, instead of this worldly process, it will change it into a godly way where we can change into godly thinking, being ministry minded and being Christ-like. When we get out of the worldly thought and we get into the Christian thought and to the Holy Spirit thought process, we get into that godly thinking. We get into being ministry-minded. We get into being Christ-like, which is how we're supposed to live on this world. We're supposed to be Christ-like. Do what He did and more. That's what we're supposed to be. He will help us through our changes. Once we grab onto our thoughts, once we can control our thoughts, everything will start to change in our life as well. All of our attitudes will change when we start to live with Christ, and we start to, increase that relationship and blossom that relationship. He'll change our attitudes. So instead of being depressed and sad all the time, you'll have the joy. You'll love again. You'll have mercy. You'll have grace. You'll have all these feelings. You'll be gracious. The joy of the Lord will come upon you. Our goals will change. Instead of being the worldly goals that we want, I want this much money, I want this car, I want this. We can change that. Our goals will change into getting the next generation. We'll fight for that next generation. We'll fight for souls. We want to get the old souls, we want the new souls, and we want the middle souls. We want all of them. That is what our goal should be. Not how many possessions we can get, because these possessions will pass away. And they can't come with you to heaven. They'll stay here. So we have to get into the Holy Spirit minded. And He'll also change the things that we want. It's okay to want some of the worldly things. Like the newest, you want a new pair of shoes. You want the new gaming system. You want You want the new car. You want a new house. Okay, we need those things at times. But when we get into this godly mindedness, when we get and let the Holy Spirit guide us, we'll get into the things that we need. You know, we'll be able to let go of some of those things. Right now, well, I don't really need this. I don't really need the new pair of shoes. I don't really need this new car yet. I still have a little bit on my old one. And then we can sow that into ministries. We could sow that extra money that we were planning on using on something else. But we want to bless other people. So we'll bless them. We'll give the money to them and stuff instead of being selfish, keeping it for ourselves. We all go from thinking about ourselves to what Christ wants. When we laid down our life to Christ, we laid it down in a way of saying, we will follow you because of your sacrifice. Because of what you did for us, I won't go my own way. I'll follow yours. Because you died for me. We got into that. That is how we guard our mind. When we change our mindset and let the Holy Spirit, move in our mind, move in our spirit, move us in the direction we need to be. That's how we guide our mind. And the third thing that happens in that verse is this. It says right here, this will empower you to discern God's will as you live a beautiful life, satisfying and perfect in His eyes. When we change our mindsets, and live for Him, we change it from the worldly to the godly. When we put focus on Him, that stuff happens. When we change our mindset, it gives us power. It gives us the power to discern God's will for our life. There's many times that we get really scared about the future. We start freaking out about what's going to happen. Where am I going to be here in the next year? What am I going to do here in my job? What am I going to do this? What am I going to do that? And it just always that constant struggle over the future. Well, we don't have to worry. When we get into this godly mindset and we let the Holy Spirit guide us, it gives us the power to discern God's will for our lives. And when we can fully discern what He has in store for us, when we can fully see, when we can fully know what God has planned for us, we can live a beautiful life that satisfies the Lord and is perfect in His eyes. How many of us want it? Because I know I want that. I know that I want it. I want to be to that place where I can be, so confident about it. God's got it. It don't matter. I want to have that life where it is beautiful and satisfying and perfect in His eyes. I want to get there. That's where I want to be. I want to get that power. And so we all constantly need to keep ourselves in check. We need to keep ourselves in check, to watch ourselves. Make sure that we're not leaning towards the worldly side again. We need to always make sure that we're staying on the godly side. That we need to stay on the godly side and stay in His mindset. Let Him flow through us, not the world. Let Him guide us, not the world. Let Him show us what we need to do and not the world. Let Him show us what we need and not the world. Because everything the world has to offer will never satisfy your soul. Doesn't matter how much money you get. Doesn't matter how many possessions you get. Doesn't matter how long you live on this earth. If you don't live for God, your soul will never feel complete. No amount of possessions can ever fill what following God and doing God's work can do. How many of us want to have that life where we're so sure, when we're so, knowing that we're good, You know, that is what we need to. That's where we need to be. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in today. It has been an honor to be back in here, even if it was just for a day. He will be back again tomorrow. He will continue teaching on Psalms 37. Uh, he just asked me to do today, and I said yes, sir. So that's what I'm doing here. Remember, we do want to update some of our stuff. So we're asking you guys to donate. And if you would, it would be amazing. And those who have been donating, we thank you. We thank you for that. And if you want to know how to donate, there's a couple ways. The first way, you can hit hashtag donate on Facebook right now, and it will send you a little website. You can go and fill that out. The second way is Cash App SSM Strong. You Cash App SSM Strong, and that will do that. Or there's always the option you can text STRONG to 888-364-4483, and it will give you a way to do it there. But if you don't like those three, you can always go to our website, standingstrongministries.org, and there's always an opportunity there to do it. So I just wanted to remind you guys, please keep in the mindset of being godly and staying out of this world. Because when we do, we become tainted, we become tilted, and we become, just off. So stay in God, meditate in Him, flow with Him, let the Holy Spirit guide you. And when you do, it will just be blessings. And we just want to thank you guys again for tuning in today. We are here every day, Monday through Friday at 11:30. Something good is going to happen to you today. Always